Hey everyone. It's your favorite host with the most. Is that Beetlejuice's intro? I shouldn't use that. Alright, so continuing on from the clock, the most important part, getting down digits. And, you know, I was going to have the original clock open. No, not that one. Ooh, spoiler alert. You know what? Take two, action. I'm going to have to start it all over again. You know, that's how I get obsessive with these presentations. You know, despite their low views, I care about the presentation. I care about the intros. Like the intros, I agonize over the intros, as you see. Anyways, take two, action. 45 seconds in. Alright, so this was the clock we left off on. We're going to basically create the time. So I'm going to just... I feel so blind when I don't have the 3D world around me. Like, I almost feel like I need the grid in real life. So I am going to basically choose set origin, and you know, as I mess with it, the problem with me is I'm always cursed by ideas. Like, I'm already thinking how basically set origin should have a mode where if you have nothing selected, it should just jump into an auto ray casting mode where you should be able to put the origin anywhere on any edge. So that's how it happens. That's how the demons, you know, some people are haunted by demons that make them spit vomit and stuff. Like, I'm just haunted by demons that request features and improvements and optimizations and workflow. Like, I don't care if I have to talk to Bell to get it. So I'm gonna bring in a cube, and we are going to just add a geometry nodes. And also, I don't feel like I have to talk to Bell. You know, he probably isn't the best coder, to be honest. So, you know, let's get down to that. Malachor, though. Malachor might be decent. Anyways, I'll stop just in case people are sensitive to that. So look, we'll do string to curve, and I got notes up top. I was gonna just do this off the cuff, just like think out loud, but then I would be torturing you guys. So I'm just gonna type in what is Scooby-Doo? Is that what Bill Cosby used to say? He used to say Scooby-Doo. Anyways, not saying that he's a role model or anything, but we will take this moment to transform, rotate this 90. Wherever that rotated, it was not 90. Alright, this one is. You know, sometimes you rotate it 90 and it's just not the Mondays, am I right? Look at my clock, it's a Sunday. You know, what do I have a clock for? So, fill curve. We're just filling it in. We're gonna put them in. I'm actually wearing glasses, if you can believe that. So I'm like selecting the wrong options, but I am wearing spectacles at the computer, which just doesn't feel right. I'm gonna take them off. I'm all natural when it comes to the computer, even though the computer is taking away me vision. So what do you want to do here? Well, what time is it? Bring in a frame, value to string, and when we plug that in, we're no longer messing with the jello. Let's press F4, jump into our preferences. We're going to go down to editing, and we're just going to turn off auto offset, and then we're going to go to themes. And if I have to do this again, I need to save them prefs. Like, you know, Blender usually would have a little icon that would show whenever you mess up the prefs, just to let you know, like, hey, you want to save that. So that's what time it is. I'd like to thank you all for watching. You know, our clock's going to have a very different number system. It's alright, what do we do? Alright, math. Actually, the scene time is not the one we need. We need seconds. And if we put a few decimals behind it, we can actually see it go up like a stopwatch. But, you know, with the seconds, we're pretty much done. I mean, except for a few things, like we see that the digits are here, and then the digits jump out. So we need like a 0 to be there. So let's start off with that. I'm gonna make a switch. I'm gonna make a switch for reals. We're just going to switch, and actually forgot what I intended to do. Let's bring out a compare, and we're just gonna make it where if this is greater than 10, becomes true. So let's see what we got going on here. Let's also increase our time range, so we're forever thinking about the endless ticking of time. Okay, so now it's at 0 because it's over 10. Or it's under 10. My mistake. Let's go back to the beginning. We will disconnected something that mattered. And we're just waiting until it gets to 10. And this is why I always multiply the time. You know, you just speed things up because you're waiting for stuff. And so now whenever it's over it, we basically want the seconds plus something else. So I guess we would do it at the value to string point. I'm just thinking about how I'd want to do this. Alright, let's get rid of it. Let's bring in another switch. I know, crazy. We'll put a string here. We're just going to plug up our value string. Hey, part of me actually enjoys the pain in the brain of attempting to make it work. And then for the second one, we basically want to string, join string. You know, it's always a matter of remembering the nodes. I'm telling you, I would have so many aliases to nodes. Alright, and we want to just join the string of this with just the character of 0. So let's also bring in a string. And I know my nodes are a freaking mess. We want it above. And instead of letting time play, put in 0. So now, don't even ask about that 0 infinity time. You know, that's what happens when you die. You activate the 0 infinity time. And we jump ahead. And I could have sworn I saw it jump up to triple digit seconds. You know, that also happens when you're dying. I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with dying. I sound like the Grim Reaper. When you die, this is your experience, my son. But I jest, of course. Like, because I'm in the inventive mindset, like I'm always trying to think about things humanity needs, you know, and also watching the news at the same time, thinking about it at the same time. You know, I see that Canada basically enabled suicide pods and allow people to, I think the creator went first, you know, a heroic deed. Anyways, so we're going to bring this out, and we don't want this to exceed 60. You know, we're trying to keep that regular time, not that I'm dying time. So how do we want to handle this? I love modulo. Every day, I get it. A little bit more. It was a terse smoke. It was a. I was scared. Things almost got real, you guys. Also, I keep seeing a triple digit. What's happening there? Who did it? Who did it? 010. Ooh, I caught you. 010. You get out of here. I'm telling you guys, you get a case of the Mondays on the Sundays, that's when your days are messing up. Alright, I'll stop doing day jokes. Day jokes. Day humor. You know, that's a way to get someone to be like, yeah, I got canceled. I was making day jokes. They're like, yeah, you can't do that. It's like, wait, what did you say? Yeah, day jokes. I was making jokes about the day. They didn't like that. The problem was I was making the jokes on the wrong day. Yeah, I'm just running material to you guys. I do it with my friends. They're like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm just testing content for videos. They're like, all right, proceed. Like I'm telling you, I have a whole bit about rat traps coming to a video near you. But you know, we're moving along, and that's as good as it gets. I don't even know about this structure. It's not, you know, I look at these and it's like they're like ink blots, right? Like I made like a little ray gun. But you know, this is my seconds, and it feels like it's kind of a lot. In fact, this part isn't part of that. It ends in a switch. So over here, we will just place this one here, this one here, and we're just playing with time until time catches up, right? Like that's when it sucks. So we'll draw this, right click, right click a node. We have to right click a node. I can't right click nothing. That's life. We'll press F2. We'll call this seconds. If there's a mistake here, I don't have the time to figure it out. I'm sorry. I'm terrible. You know, I used to tell people, I'm like, yeah, I'm a failed comedian. That means my jokes have gotten me in more trouble than they've gotten shekels in my hat. So that's not good. Anyways, we're going to just jump off of this, and we're going to just bring up a math, and we're going to take our time and divide it by 60. And you know, it just feels good. Let's bring out a value to string, and we want to add it to this. But yeah, I wish this was in a different order. Well, I wish it was in a reverse order. Look at me. That's the problem with my brain. I always want things in a reverse order compared to the way things should be. I just busted myself right there. Alright, so we are now going through time, and 60 and 1. So now we want to bring up a floor. I should be showing fun facts on screen about these nodes, at least according to Google Gemini, to be like useful, because floor actually has a handy tooltip somewhere. We go in and we look at the utilities, math. Is it here? Yeah, the smallest integer that are equal to a. So I should have taken notes on it. I'm afraid to say the wrong thing there. So let's bring up the modulo. But yeah, I need to start putting up the notes for it. Like I did it for my next video. This one, I just kind of was like, you know what, let me go ahead and do the time. Let me do time with the guys. All right, so we're looking at our clock, time moves. This is it. This is it. Oh yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to make those sounds. It's just, hey, sometimes time is on your side. And we just keep going with both the time puns and time itself. So, you know, we roll out the timeline, and, you know, 14 o'clock, we could set it up to have a both 12 and 24-hour system. Look, we don't do that here. That's a military family thing. But what we will do is set this to basically stop and flip over. So what I want to do is bring these back, and let's bring this out to a less than, and Previously we had this at 10. And then we had this come up to a switch. I know, totally chaotic. And we don't want it to be that. We want it to be a string that we're switching between. And the first one will connect to this, so let's bring this out into the false. And then from here, we're just going to bring up a join string, and we're just going to add a string of 0. As you see, a lot of this could have been duplicated, but once we connect this into the other side, we have a result we can send home to base. So let's take a look at this. I'll never be able to deal with negative time. I mean, maybe I have to think about it. I don't deal with negative time, so I don't have to look at that. But why would you? You can't even run the timeline that far backwards. It's like trying to reverse your car while going forwards. But we are looking good there. So now we just need to prevent it from flipping over. Which one of you did it? I'm just looking at all these nodes, thinking out loud. Oh wait, we're talking about seconds, minutes. Sorry, I'm assaulting the wrong one. Seconds, F2, minutes. Like, I was thinking about going further in the clocks, right, and try to make an escapement and then start talking about the invention of the escapement. In fact, I still consider myself flubbing on the dialogue of these videos. I was meaning to talk about a million different book topics, but nah. We will give this its own connection, and that's not going to work. Yeesh. Alright, Blender, what do you want from me? That's what you want. That's what you want? You want me to do? You want to play this game? Look, I did it. Oh, and I broke it. Alright, so we did it. We now have seconds, minutes, and we're probably going to cut the seconds off because this clock probably only shows minutes, and then this thing just flashes. So we're just being extra right now, but I should be able to just use this. The join is like a curious node. Like, a lot of nodes are very interesting. Like, I got to do the release log for hops, so you guys can see where we're dealing with nodes now, and like trying to have them basically be everything. But nodes have performance struggles, so I worry it'll open the floodgate on support reports, where everybody's computer will be broken down to its knees because of so for this one, we're going to divide it by 3600, which is 60 by 60, I believe. I've done this over and over and over, so it's more like and also, like I said, following notes. Let's bring in a modula, and for this one we are going to put it to a value of 12, and let's bring up a value to string. And if we plug this in, and then we also give it a connection up here on our big spider, like I'm going to drop it here and put a redirect or reroute. I would have it where I could type in redirect. Look at me, I'm just asking for Blender to let me type in a bunch of wrong stuff. I'm like, hey, I can't work the way I'm supposed to per the documentation, Bobby. And yet it works. You just got to remember. It's like remember cheat codes. Mortal Kombat put out a collection, and I still remember the cheat codes to the version on Sega Genesis. Like, everybody's so about playing the game online. I feel like people online would be cool, you know. And that back in those games, you could run, and you know, when people ran at you in Mortal Kombat, it was kind of scary. You know, they'd scream, they'd grunt a little bit. It's like, oh no, they're about to hurt you. But you look at Mortal Kombat now, and people meet up on the screens of battle prior to just the fight, and they punch each other, and that's really interesting. I mean, it's really great, because that's something that we always dreamed of as a kid, right? You'd see them as static images, and now, you know, they fight, except the script writing is a little different. So let us pull back on the time. And I just need to be able to multiply time. Like, I'm trying to drag it way too far, and my cursor gets off of Blender. And they're just showing me digits over here. They're like, you got a 1, you got a 0, you got a 6, you got a 4. It's cool. It's cool to see. I love geometry nodes. I look at them like this engineering toy in Blender, except I am still just playing with the beginning part. I'm like, node. There's a node. Alright, so we want to bring this out and connect this to a less than, which is a compare. And we want to compare this on an integer. We want to compare this on an integer level. And if it's less than 10, then this will come out to a switch. And I'll miss the seconds when they're gone. You know, we spent so long on them, loving them, treating them right. I'm going to, what's up, the string won't let me touch it? No, alright, so I'll do that, and then that, then dissolve it. And that's how you do a quick little redirect. So we'll add a join, and on our join, we will add a 0. Oh wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. And you know, I will run my handwriting through AI, and I'm like, what's happening with my brain, AI? And they're like, you're getting ahead of yourself. That's why your words are coming out broken. It's like, wow. How do I stop it though? You know, because I need the words to come out in the right order. I need to stop jumping paragraphs when I'm reading. I need to be able to focus and like mentally relax, you know. Like, it's a struggle, but I'm determined to find a use out of the automatic computer, because, you know, we've had so much media of computers destroying us, and yet right now computers are serenading us. They're trying to help us, you know, for now, and we have all the forces in place for them to not do that. Everybody is basically, you know, not good. So they're definitely gonna program the robots to come punch us up. You know, why not? I'm gonna bring up a math, and we're just going to multiply time by 2, maybe by 6. You know, we're gonna get rid of time. And now we can jump through the clock quicker, and it hits 12, and it's 1 again. And it hits 12, and it's 1 again, and it hits 12, and it's 1 again. And I love that. We definitely need that in our lives. And that's between this thing. So what if we wanted it to be a 24-hour clock? Because you're one of those people. Well, we can just set this to be 24, and now you have the 24-hour clock, except we don't want to see the 24th hour, I believe. We want it to reset after that. So let's see. And this is where I would stop and ask AI, and it would probably mislead me. So I'd have to ask it to back it up with a Wikipedia article or a book or something that's like trustworthy. Like, it's crazy that we have to keep asking it for the verification of men in order to verify things, where you get subjected to his story. All right, so one of the things added to hops, not really a big deal, but font scroll. You know, I love grabbing a node and font scrolling it in geometry nodes. And we're looking for Helvetica, which I believe is one of the fonts just like built into your computer. Maybe it's not. I got Harmony OS. Alright. And for this, we will actually need to probably refer to the... What did this clock look like when it was on? Let me bring up the actual clock. Alright, I'm back, sorry. Sometimes I will hide in my little alcove of just silent serenity, not having to record anything. Alright, so we look at this, and this is just LCD font, so let me set that up and grab that real fast. Alright, I'm shamed by my file sloppiness, but let us... Oh, I was about to change the font under the default settings. I'm getting ahead of myself. Alright, so let us get rid of that. And let us just bring up one of these. So we'll use technology bold. And that will suffice. In fact, you know, the more I see on the display, the more I'm like, oh god, guys, we should maybe do it all. We should do it all. Like, why not? It's a lazy Sunday. Maybe not too lazy, but... And also, I want to center it, but I just know it will not work out if I make it a dynamically placed thing. Like, we see that some of the digits shrink in, they come in, and some of them don't. So it would be best for us to have it positioned manually in between these two. In my experience. You know, you might find a better way. So, you know, I spend a lot of time jumping between AI music and human music. I love human music. But I also love seeing robots attempt it. I'm like, wow, this will be the only time they will be this nice to us. After this, they will not be kind. Robots will be kicking in our doors and taking us out. So, I have friends who have become eccentric at this point in life, but I'm always quick to remind them that, you know, the war isn't going to be against people. It's going to be against plastic humans that's going to be coming for us. Like, you know, we were having to talk about Predator Badlands, where I had a friend that really did not like the movie, but you know what I want to do for this is just get rid of that. You know, maybe get rid of that. In fact, we can, let's do a switch. And let's Control-Shift-D, move this up. And this will be the false one. And we've like really created like a curious mess here, but really all we want to do is just cut that and cut that. Alright, and now we see the truth of what must be done, and we can bring over our input, and we'll just call this seconds. And I almost want to have it flip a switch to reposition it as well, because we will never need the second display. I mean, I will never need this. We should just make the clock and stop being weird. In fact, I'm just precious. I'm like, we made it. You know, for diagnostic purposes, that's the excuse that I make when I request things. I'm like, listen, it's about diagnostics. It's about troubleshooting. It's about knowing why. So I need it for diagnostic purposes, but now we have our clock. And we want to be able to play with our time, as in like increment it. So let's go ahead and build a machine for that around seconds. So we already have our multiply. We want to go ahead and bring an input, group input, and out of seconds we want to create a input called hours. But before that, let's bring in a math node. My mistake. And for this math, we'll just kick it to value and change it to multiply what, to get rid of this for a moment. We don't need it. Actually, we do. We're referring to it. So, I mean, not at this specific second, but we will. So we'll multiply, and we'll put in a value of 3600. We'll change this value to be an integer. And I know I'm doing this way out of order. So we'll call this hours. We'll duplicate. Minutes. We'll duplicate. Seconds. You know, everyone should be able to make a clock and fail a time test for school and get the cops called on you. I jest, of course. So we'll keep the time multiplier there just because I like it. But we do want to duplicate this, bring out an add. So we'll connect an add. So now we have the seconds coming out to an add, and our machine is beginning. And this will just allow us to add more onto it. So we come out from here, we connect this to seconds. So now we have our seconds able to help our minutes move along. We'll come out of minutes and we'll connect this to a map. And I probably would have rehearsed how I would have executed this part, because initially when it was suggested that we had this in it, I was like, I don't know why this seems a bit excessive, but the more I mess with the clock idea, the more I see that it's at least a fun little diversion. So now with this particular ad, we want to connect this into the top input, and we should be good to go. If we move to hours, we're jumping these hours. In fact, we're jumping these hours. The hours shouldn't be jumping. They should be able to increment, and that's because we set this to a 24-hour, and we want to set that to a 12-hour. So the way that we create that sort, that was more selection than I wanted. The way we do that is we will Control D, Control Shift D in order to keep the connection. It's always good to keep the connection. And we'll just put a switch in here because I'm precious about these little scamps. And okay, we'll connect our input there. Maybe it's the other way. So now we're on that 12-hour clock. I mean, we have a lot of time multiplication happening here, so let's move that down. 76543. We are missing 12 o'clock. So let's put it on 12. Also have to make sure we don't have 0 o'clock. Like, I don't like how little the 1 becomes. Like, it just shrinks so viciously. You know, how do we keep everything still? And this is where, you know, I didn't even think about the conundrum of that. So I'll have to either figure it out or give it a quick pause. So it's 12, and then it's 1. And the digit of the 0 doesn't even appear to be a thing. Let's go and just mute this. We're getting something like that where it's like built around let's try it again. We want the okay, and it's the auto repositioning that we're doing here. So let's, that one flips at 90. This one places it in a different location. So where's this origin? This origin is here. Maybe we want that to be centered. I'm just thinking out loud with probably what will be terrible solutions. Can we have them all be together? Can they all be, hey, can they all be together? I'm thinking no. because if our clock is jumping around like a mad clock, so right now we're centering it, and let's try, we're just experimenting, and then right, so it works for that. However, minutes needs to come from the left. Like if we get minutes coming from the left, we have a system. So we're looking at we're looking at, as they call in Texas, a situation. No, I'm playing. But we need not that Texan, even though people make fun of me for it all the time. This was our 12-hour, 24-hour flip, which I don't think we ever gave a switch to. We did here, second display, so we did do that. But I thought we were setting it up in a second place as well. Alright, so we have our clock working, and for the most part, we just want time to operate correctly. We see that it's like jumping it, so that means that, well, frankly, it means we need to put hours on its own time. So, you know, hours is getting wild. Let's just plug hours straight in. It was talking about scoopity boot. And let's try this to the left. Let's try it to the right. We could try it to the left. We already know that it's to the right. 12 down. Boom. But when would that ever happen? When would the 11 be here? We would almost want this to be its own digit, and then this to be its own digit that's like independent of this. So whenever it's 11, let's see, is it just 11? You know, I just think 11 itself needs a firm talking to. So let's try that. Let's try talking to 11. Like if it's 11, give it a chance. Is it only 11, or is there another time that's also problematic? These are things I have to wonder. So what I want to do is duplicate this switch, unmute it, plug it in, and basically we have it where whenever it's under 0, alright, that's minutes. I'm messing with the hours, sorry. We see everything is fine except for 1 o'clock. So 1 o'clock doesn't look very good either. Dang, we're going to be creating I guess what they would call a state machine. So let's duplicate this. Whenever it's false, we get that. But if it's if it equals 1, then it's blank. So we will put in a string. I know this is like super hacking it, but 0, 1, 0 space 1. Let's try that again. Let's try join strings, and we'll do string 0, and then we'll do a string of 1. And this is getting really okay. You know, how do you bring law to these lawless lands? So we'll do something like that. So Now it's not so strict. And that's only if it's equal to 1. So zero, 1. Let's try that again. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 also looks bad. And who knows? Like now, I'm like doubting if my work here is even working. You know, which is when you got to just pull back and stop for a moment and just really analyze it. So here we're going to just, you know, let's undo that. I always am testing undo. Not even because I need to undo, just because I'm just making sure that it's fast, that it's trustworthy, and it's no longer that crazy killer undo that we once had. Like we once had like this killer undo that was like murder. And those were the dark times. Am I plugged in? Yeah, I'm plugged in. Let's see how that looks. Okay, it's just us putting out 11. And this one is if it's equal to 11. We'll plug this in. And how do we want to do this? We just need the space. I mean, how would 11 show up on this clock? It would just be narrowly together on the same side of the display. It just almost seems like it would be spread out. Like, you know, it's almost 11 here. But I see that... Such a curiosity are LCD clocks and their displays, and here I am just agonizing over them in the editor. So, happy Sunday, everyone. And we're just looking at it on this side. 10, 11, 12, 1. Okay, and the 1 should just be 1. You know, who's ever seen 0, 1 on a clock? So we'll just press M. I'm trying to find the one that does it. Clicking random nodes will always lead you to success, let me tell you. Success tip number 1, always just change random things on nodes without understanding what you're doing. They'll love it. And now I'm seeing why. Alright, let's look at this. So we have 0, 1 here. So do we need to put a condition in here that if it shows 0, 1, that it just shows 1? Because does it work for all of the hours? You know, in fact, do we need the addition of the 0? Let's double check that. Zero, 1. Let's delete that. So it's like, what are we, I'm just double checking what these do, because I think we actually have them doing nothing. And if that's the case, then we are, I believe, looking good. Let's I want to remove these nodes. Just looks so strange. Just looks so strange. Like 11 should be 1 space 1. And I'm going to try just one. Actually, that's not the way to do it. We'll just take the switch and we will do a join strings for this one. And the strings will be string 1, 1. Is that all it takes? Like I just plug this in and S. Okay, so we do have our space now. Let's see how it looks at the end. Where's my last digit at? Where's the space between them at? How's it connecting to this? Alright, let's try that again. 1, 1S. And it transforms. So wait, it's this, and then when we flip it over, it becomes this. Alright, I feel like there's a trick being played on me here. Alright, so it's laying down, it's now up, and now we have the curve filled. So now it's displaying what it's supposed to. So let's get rid of the S, and that's what we want. We just want, whenever it's true, to just say 1 space 1, which, you know, does that work or does that work? You know, welcome to a descent in the journey into, welcome to my descent into madness, an MX story, how a clock drove me nuts. Alright, so for this, we'll duplicate, and we'll just say equal to 11. So now, when we jump over here, 10, 11, 10, 11. I don't like it. I mean, I feel like it's like slightly off. But, you know, we're just going to, I will dwell on that later. In fact, I shouldn't have the timer up. The timer gives me a nervousness too. Alright, so we spent a lot of time messing with the format of the hours, just so we can get over here and look at this and look at how our time just jumps around like mad. And what do we want to do? We want to simplify this down to be just the minutes. In fact, let's get rid of the seconds display. Turn into a mess out here. Alright, something like that. So now we are displaying only, not that, we need the minutes. So we'll plug that in. So now we have the minutes. And we still have everything connected up to our machine, so we can probably get rid of that. 3, 4, 5. Alright, so 11 also looks strange here. But that's really the only time. And then we want to basically have this come from the left, unlike the other one. So now everything is fluid. We have 1. But whenever the 1 is like that, it encroaches badly. You know, I'm gonna have to examine that in depth. I'm pretty sure that could have been resolved in the planning. So what I'll do is actually pause here for now and then double check that. Alright, before I wrap, I at least wanted to get this at a point where I could put it on the clock at least. Even though I could agonize, revisit the topic, like I should at least finish the job that I intended. So we're looking at our minutes here, and we see that they are incrementing the way they're supposed to, even though I wish they were a little more digit specific. The digits should just go up. They shouldn't be reflective of this, but I think that's something that I'll have to ponder, and the answer is probably super basic, causing me to come back and do a second part onto this. But we have our minutes, and we have our hours. So what I want to do is join, and we will connect this up like so, And now we have our hours and our minutes. Static, stable, not shrinking. You know, we look at 111, and 111 is symptomatic of everything wrong with this nation. Just too close together. Needs to spread out. There's too many states. I'm not a crank. Please eliminate 50. Like Grandpa Simpson. Alright, let's bring in another. I was about to bring in another string to curve, but then I'd be having to do all of this again. So let's bring this in. We'll change this to a parenthesis or a colon. And we want to transform geometry. So we'll move this out just a little bit, which separate XY, and that's not it. We want to combine, and now we have that on the control, and we want to do the same thing for this one, except we want to transform it the opposite way. So maybe we can multiply it by -1. I'm no vector person, but I try. I mean, when I do get it, I will be very happy. So that is pretty good. You know, multiplying by -1, math, you know, like a meme. So now what we want to do is go ahead and maybe just transform this and move it over just a little bit. And so we have our machine where we're jumping forward through the hours. Not my favorite. I was planning on being very proud of this, but now I see I have to go study more about time. Not that I'm against it, but hey, there's only so many hours in the day. Even though I could modify the model to allow me unlimited hours, and then I just let the timeline repeat forever, and then I've created infinite time, and I'm stuck in a timeline that like is disconnected from your perception of time. Never mind. That's why I have no friends. I mean, I do. I just ignored a call from one because I was in the middle of recording, so I gotta call someone back. I hate that. Yeah, life is just calling people back, and then they're like, "Yeah, I'm just eating a sandwich." It's like, well, I was in the middle of something I considered important. That 111 is going to be the death of me. You know, if you see this and you comment 111, I'm gonna ban you. All right, so I jest, of course. Now we want AM PM, just because it looks cool. So let us just bring out these, and we're just gonna put in AM. And we could probably be smart and make it like a little switch. But we'll go there, we'll do a transform. I don't know what font that would be, but we're just gonna select a node and we're just gonna font scroll till we find something that feels like, I'm looking at the M because the M kind of puffs out a little bit. Like, I'm no font master. I just look for shapes and patterns and shapes. Like, I've been looking at hieroglyphics a lot lately. Like, they cut them so deep into the wall. It's like, dang, these are carving methods. Like, we don't have brushes in ZBrush that cut this deep. Like, you can't put the Z factor high enough to cut hieroglyphics like the Egyptians did it. Like, they knew, like, hey, this is gonna get filled in, someone's gonna patch this in with goo. You know, it's some good sand. Like, that's another rabbit hole. I'm like on a rabbit hole of how were the pyramids made, because I think with the way mankind's going, we're gonna need jobs building pyramids for the rich, basically. You know, I jest, but also I do not. So we will shrink this down and bring this over here. And watch this turn into way more work than I signed up for. Like, watch this be a can of how you doing? And do we need AM PM? Because it's still in the AM for me right now, just so you know. Let's do switch. We'll do AM PM. Bam, AM PM. But also when this switch is flipped, we want the output to do something else. So I'm just gonna bring in a group input just for now. And for this group input, we'll just plug this in and AM, PM, AM, PM, AM, PM. And using our switch as logic, we will bring it down here and make it also transform this. Like, I was about to put a second switch that transforms it differently, but we could probably just do a mix on this. Oh wait, no, it would be on this. So we want to take this -2. Let's try that again. Copy that, paste. .44. 0.44. I don't know why it's giving me the business like it is. Ooh. And that was -2, sir. So we have that, and for some reason that was like the hardest thing to translate over from another thing. Go figure. And can we just off on this thing? No. Why not? Why not? What's the value coming out of this? To value. What can you convert a boolean to? Boolean to... I am overthinking this. Like, all I want is for this to have two separate values, to just jump between them. I think it should be easy. It should be easy to basically have this do that. So whenever this is flipped, that's all you're doing. But why can't I make it a static thing? So that way it's just boom, 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 boom. You gotta think, take a drink. All right. Compare. Think, take a drink. I'd be devastated early in the day. Let's see. PM, AM, PM, AM, PM, AM. I don't know why I had to think, and that's also probably not the way to even do that, but that's the way I chose to do it. So, one Greenland, please. I shouldn't even joke about that. Things are so crazy nowadays. But that was also why, you know, we live in something called the Anthropocene, so we gotta make jokes about it. That's also part of our society. We gotta just infinitely joke about just the most morbid things. It's like a gallows humor to the max, a cultural gallows humor across the world. So what if we wanted it to go between this on a 24-hour system? That might be a bit much. We will call it quits there. And then what if I wanted to do the AL button? I mean, it's just AL. How hard could it be, guys? 30 minutes later. Oh my god, what nightmare hath I wrought? We'll bring this down here. Oh. You don't just duplicate one of these, you duplicate the trio. You take them all, and we'll put in a L for Al Sharpton. No, I'm playing. He had nothing to do with this clock. Transform geometry. And you can really get used to the lack of bumping with the insertion. You know, that part where it bumps the nodes when you insert them, it drives me insane. And then what about this? You know, I hear someone say in the back who has nothing better to do with their time than to watch a extremely long node video that's probably been covered by a node master. That's our AM PM switch. Let's call it AM PM. And then the other one is for an alarm. But we also want these circles. So, you know, how do you do a circle? Don't you know anything about nodes, my boy? Not playing. But let's do a curve circle. And for our curve, we obviously want to have it face us like a man, or in this case, like a curve, which, you know, I always thought curves were kind of feminine. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that curves are a man, meshes are men. That's why they got so many problems. But curves are women, and that's why they got a different set of problems. Sorry, not trying to get on a tangent there with that. But we want to shrink our circles like so. And let's say we wanted to clone them. We want to duplicate elements, and we want an edge, a curve, I believe it's spline. We want 3 of those. Let's mute this for a moment. I'm recalling this out of memory, what I'm about to try. And what I want to do is scale elements, but what I want to do is scale them by their index. And we can't scale these, can't scale any of that. What do you have under curve? Do you have anything for curve, for scaling curves? Can we just scale a curve? That's a taboo. So we got to go with you know, let's do transform. And we'll plug in scale, which won't work out the way we want it to. But basically we want to do some vector math of multiplying. And okay, it's still not going to let us do that like so. How did we used to do this? Alright, like I said, I'll try to recall this out of my head. Let's do scale instances. I mean, we can't really see what's going on over here, but they are elements. So scale elements, edge. Do I need to make them into meshes? It just seems excessive to make them into meshes. To mesh, curve to mesh. Alright, and then we bring in an index. I don't like that I had to do that, but whatever. Let's bring in a math, because whatever it multiplied it by, we lost it. So now we have at least I believe concentric circles. I have to double check that afterwards. I'm like obsessed with double checking things just to make sure I'm correct, you know. My girlfriend's always punishing me. She's like, that was wrong. I'm like, ah, got me. And we are just dealing with that, and you know, so far so good. You know, we got rid of our reference here for a moment. We could probably just shrink it till we need to see this window. That way we can focus on the nodes, but small victories. Like whenever I lose the ability to deal with these nodes, I will truly be sad. You know, that'll mean that I'm brain addled. Maybe we want to multiply, but like by fractions. Or is it that we want to multiply this part by small fractions? Or is it divide? One of these will help us bring it in where we need it. So I see 1, 2, wait, counting with MX, you know, everyone's favorite YouTube show. You know, that'll be what I become known for. I'll be known as the greatest counter. I'll never exceed 10. You know, I'm not that kind of guy, but I'll count as I'm down for the count. So let's transform. I'm going to just rotate it this way. And can we extrude it? Let's go with combine X, Y, Z. I'm telling you, aliases would be so hot. So we put our mesh in here. Is it a mesh? No. We turned it back into splines at some point. Do we need to do that? No, let's try that again. So we convert it back into a curve at some point. And we don't want to. We want to convert it back into a mesh so we can extrude it. You know, I know, getting real weird here. So let's mute that for a second. We'll come back to that. So maybe something like that. And then we go from curve to mesh. So we're doing mesh to curve, curve to mesh, like just a lot of back and forth. But I mean, with geometry nodes, it's just so fun to think like that. And slowly, I'm getting a grasp of what each option offers. Like, you know, you know, I never want to put out that I'm some sort of smarty pants, but I like to learn. You know, learning's key. Lifetime of learning. That's what you sign up for with this. Also, that's as you know, if we keep messing with it, it'll become just more and more work. So let us do a you know, we started off with a curved circle. Let's take that and fill it. Let's join. So now there's our circle, and then we want to fill it. It's a curved circle, and we fill it with an ingon. For some reason I cannot see it anymore. So what happens from here? What happens from here to here? Let's just plug it in here. You know, that way it works. But when you plug it into transform geometry, it doesn't. So let's what am I experiencing here? We will just plug that here, transform it once more, go back here. All right, and we are connected the wrong way. And let's Control H, bring this back. get something like this. And what we want to do is, you know, mirroring this absolutely is just a little more difficult in geometry nodes. Let's see, how do we scale these out? And I want to tighten them up. I want them to not go so far out. You know, try power. I don't like guessing. Let's try this again. We're just bringing them in. We're dividing and multiplying at the same time. One of these has to go for the other. Let's try setting it to 1. And we're just having some fun here. I don't want the second one to go out so far. So I'm telling you, it's like right there at the my head. I almost see it. So what we also want to do is have this able to be transformed to the other side. So we'll do a transform geometry. Let's look at this. That's a little much. Transform. We'll do a rotation of 180. And plug that in as well. And geometry node symbol drawing is just one of those things. I'm gonna have to practice that art. In fact, all of this, I would turn this all into a geometry node group. But let us continue. We're gonna bring a join, bring it here, take a look at what we've, our monstrosity, transform geometry. We can scale this down and just reposition it and pretend like we didn't struggle at this longer than we wanted to. And also we could probably give it a little bit more extrusion. So we get something like that. I feel like I did this off of willpower. Like I willed this part into existence because it definitely gave me the business. So now we look at this and we have our clock and we have our minutes that will increment our time and the ability to control it all. And we no longer have the time jumping around all weird. However, if we get to 11, 11, 11, 11, I mean that 11 actually looks pretty good. Let's take the seconds down to 11 seconds. You know, why can't those seconds look good? That 11 looks good. This 11 does not. You know, do we want our 11s to be split like so? I mean, the obsession remains endless. So let's look at what we did. We did it for the minutes, where the minutes works. And why do the minutes work? Is it because of the left? Like, look, if we put it to right. Oh wait, we're looking at the hours. I get confused. We did a complicated machine for the hours, which culminated in this. This is what I'm looking at and liking. So let's just Shift D. Let's remove from the frame. And we're just going to tempt it. We connect to the false, connect up like so, and then we connect the value to this. So we look at our minutes. and now 1111 doesn't look so bad, you know, but an LCD clock person would definitely be like, hey, there's something funny with that clock, and they'd call me out, and then I'd have to scamper off because they busted me selling counterfeit clocks. We don't want that. We're trying to get away with it. Another thing too is, before I go through, I should probably use more groups and bundling, but we're just having fun with nodes here. This is my brain on nodes. We want to realize geometry. We want to just to mesh everything, except it's not that easy, is it? We look at this and, you know, I think realizing it made it all real. Yeah, everything's real because of that, so I don't need to go back and do anything. So now I can extrude, and you know, chances are is everything's not facing the same direction, except everything is facing the same direction. Curves got a little weird. You know, we look at it as a mesh and we see that we're getting everything. So let's turn off individual, and that works out except for the shading. The shading is not the best. And when it comes to auto smooth inside of geometry nodes, let me double check how that was done. All right, so that was like, let's see, shade. I'm just trying to recall it out of my brain. And we want to compare, and this was a float, and we would do unsigned. I remember it being one of these, I'll tell you that. In fact, the fact that I'm getting this far is impressing me. Because shading, you know, these things, their associations are so like difficult. Let's put this to a value, and then we change that value to radians. But I'm pretty sure it's 2 degrees, not to radians. But watch it be the opposite one. So I'm looking at that last little shading artifact. I'm like, what is causing that? Like, in fact, let us duplicate this. Control A, visual geometry to mesh. Let's make it real. And the geometry looks fine, so maybe it's the sine angle that we need, and it was greater than. But this part I will need to double check. One moment. Actually, you know how we can check is by using a shade smooth, and then we look at the shade smooth node. And dang, our shade smooth, well, not ours, but shade smooth is a little bit of a doozy. So we're using less than or equal to of the angle. So the unsigned angle greater than or equal. And let's double check that again. And we're judging it by the unsigned angle. Alright. This thing's gonna just give me the business. And this is no way to end this. Having to battle nodes. Less than or equal. Greater than or equal. So I have it smooth here, but not here. And that's the part that's like getting me. So we look at this again, and we have our selection in here, and then on the shade smooth side, I will just find out real fast. All right, I'm back, and we want to just go ahead and get rid of this, and I didn't want to end off on a failure of a note, so yes, we do want to do less than. I was so indecisive before, and we can get rid of the value, and we can just set this to something like 60, and we are looking good. And I'm receiving a phone call again, and we will plug this into the shade smooth, and look, we finally have our result. Like, I don't know why I was struggling to get there. In fact, we can turn this into a mesh as well, the circle that we created. So curve to mesh, but if we fill a curve, it becomes a mesh. So now the question is, why is that shape not shaded? This one shape is so strange. Sometimes I feel like these issues aren't necessarily normal ones. Alright, and then we look at it here. There's nothing that will shade it. That thing is a rock, which almost makes me want to remove it from join here. You know what? We'll take it ourselves and we'll extrude it. And you know, it's not like it's a parameter based issue. And then if we plug this in to here and we look at it, we see that this doesn't do anything. And is it the sine angle or the unsigned? You know what? Oh, okay. We can proceed now. Let's undo everything. And you know, we're smoothing it by edge. And now we need to basically smooth it by face. So there's like a secondary smoothing that must occur. In fact, we put our circle back. Let's duplicate this, and we just add a face. And now we don't have issues with that anymore. And we look at this and we have a shaded time system where we can go from AM to PM on the flip of a switch. And you know, let's say we want to turn off the alarm, you know, maybe we want to sleep in, just to end it on a victorious note. This is the part in which we added all of that. So let's do a switch, a geometry switch, which always, in my brain, I always imagine geometry switches as being very heavy. And what else is here? AL got joined at this time too. Let's offset when it gets joined. So if true, it's on. If off, it's off. So let's try connecting that like so. And then, ooh, wrong connection. We'll go with input, group input. So this will be the alarm. And it's probably easier for us to just deal with it back here instead of getting weird in another place. So I'm just going to put a switch, and we'll plug it in here. So alarm, yes, no, no, yes, yes, no, no alarm please. I'd like to sleep in today. Hold my calls at the desk. In fact, this dot in the center could stand to be just a little bit bigger. In fact, if we look at the actual clock itself, and the thing about regular music is, like, I need more cowbell. No, I'm playing. We want to multiply it out, but we don't want the scale between them to be so big. So I'm going to mess with that and then get that done. Alright, so resuming, so we can wrap this up. I'm just going to connect the index and use my favorite node, the modulo. And we will just set this to the range that we want, and then get the multiply to work at the scale that we need, while just adjusting each of these. In fact, let us bring it in again. And I just had this just a moment ago. Now I have it set to a, dang it. All right. I should use the method I just tried. All right. And then we bring this in. I think I got too excited for my previous solution. I was like, oh, the ending's in sight. I can wrap this video finally. You know, I would leave it just like that, except that just doesn't do it. So let's try taking that and putting a power on it to bring it in. And that would actually work out a lot better. So we can turn off our alarm. No alarm, please. You know, it's time to wake up. So the other thing is we had a slider for adjusting the distance of our time to go out. And so we want to mess with that. When these were being brought together, they all had a little translation. All right. There's that one. That one's for the AM PM. And what we're talking about, that is that. We are just looking for it. That is the parameter. And let's put that on the input. What is called as distance. So if we need to adjust the distance for any reason, we can do that. Let us jump through our time. There's just not enough time in the day. In fact, you know what time it is? It is I love seeing it flip over though. It's like, dang it, you shouldn't do that. 11:42 a.m. That's what time it is here. So I got to get this thing together. And also the circle feels like it could be bigger. And then the whole apparatus could be smaller. And that's prior to the extrude. So if we mess with that, we have that here. Let's bring that out to input. And we want to change that, not a vector, we want to just change it to float. So we have something like that, and then we could just control the scale of it just to get it just right. And then if we really feel like the circle's out of control, we can go back and make adjustments to that. So something like that, but I don't think we'll need to adjust it on a fine note, just something like I always say, something like that. So let us go back and we want to locate the extrude, and let's just let the extrude be a happy little parameter on its own. We'll call this extrude, and we are getting there. I mean, we could also even have a switch for the set smooth just in case we want to be fancy with it, but this is a clock, and what a doozy of a clock it is. I mean, despite the fact that we put our time out here like so, we might also need to bring it in. And what brings it in? It's this thing. So when we transform our geometry, we do have our translation that moves it from up to down, but let's add another transform. And this one, its only purpose is to bring it in. So let's combine. You know, Blender knows what I'm likely to connect. A breakdown. Input. And now we have control over that. We have control over that. So for this one, we want to call this aux tag distance. I'm just thinking of names off the top of my head. So now that we have the auxiliary tag distance going one way, we can also reverse this to have this adjusting going the other way. So we have this time over here where everything's being combined. So we spread this out, and all the switch does is just goes back to the main line where we don't have everything joined up. It switches to a version where we have it all joined up. So let's mute this one. And for our translate, we can just add a secondary translate. Not do anything to this that we're not supposed to, and combine XY or separate XYZ. No, it's combine XYZ, and then we just want to bring in a input, group input, and I mean this graph is, it would be an art in cleaning it up. You know, what is this translation? What do I connect up for that? Let's get that out of here. Pretend that never happened. And if we multiply it by -1, we get the absolute opposite number. So we can easily bring them in if we need to. And then this same switch that we did, we also want to do it for the digit itself. So the same switch we created, which is this, and let us duplicate it and prepare it for interjection. And that would be here, where the AL text is. B, we'll grab this, and surely I can organize better than that. But we are just obliterating this, right, in the process of creating the system. So let us just get out of here. We have done enough. So we come out of local mode, take a look at our clock, and at least for this moment, we can take a victory lap. I'm just going to bring this back, just rotate it to fit where we have it. And we probably want to look at our reference once more. So I'm going to bring my reference back. And we see that, you know, everything's pretty tight. Like the digits go all the way to the top. So something like that. And then maybe scale it in even more. You know, I see a little room on the bottom. And it's now 11:49, so we will just move it up a little bit. Bring this in a little bit. Receiving calls. Like, the thing about me is I never, ever wanted a phone. I am not a telephone person. And how do we want to do this? We want to take this parameter, maybe multiply it a little bit more. At the very least, we got to make this smaller. I probably made mine a little big. Grand scheme of things. So which scale will do it for us? Well, we want something that's localized to that particular area to scale, so not that one. Probably here. We'll bring this in a little more. We're going to need to scale both of them down. And I should make all of these adjustable parameters, but once I get this in there, I can assure you I will never touch this again. Let's see, Control H. Let's do revelation of this. And I'm trying to find some way to just scale it down in a universal fashion, but looks like we don't have that. So something like that. We'll move it over on the X. And I'm just eyeballing it. Should have been a little more attentive of the actual constraints of the clock we're dealing with. So we've already brought this side in as much as possible, which means that for this we have gone too far. So we want to bring in a math, and that math will allow us to pure ref. Why you gotta be that way? I mean, I know why you gotta be that way, but why you gotta be that way? We want to lower the size of the text a little bit. And we also want to translate that a little bit. Alright, AM, PM, AM, PM. It's now 11:52 on my side, so we'll move the time a little bit. And let's give it a blank material. It's not going to show up though, but we have a material, and we want the material setting in the viewport to be brown or black as well. So that'll at least help us out with seeing this thing in the viewport. The viewport, I feel, needs a revolution in displays. Like, you know, every time you ask for a better viewport, you get the better viewport, and you just get tired of it. You want a better viewport. So I've been through so many great Blender changes. So from cycles to EV, and you know, who knows, someday that viewport will be going on. It's now 11:53. I should be able to add these specifically by a number, but let's take it in our clock that we cannot actually watch go through because we don't have the seconds displaying, but we can enable them, except we never put a switch in to allow the seconds to display. So maybe that could be the final thing. And how would we put the seconds in there? We go and look at our graph that makes absolutely no sense. Like, it's a graph so insane that I should end the video and just go commit Harry Carry, but instead we're gonna have to hang out just a little bit longer. And what I see is let's take the seconds from half court. Ooh, they didn't like that. Oh, let's do a strings to curves, and let's take their two options here. Let's connect that up. Let's connect it in to it as well, but let us do a little bit of transformation to it. So we'll move it down, and then we'll use a transform geometry. As you see, I love transform. It's just so transformative. And we'll bring it down, move it over, and now when the timeline plays, we have a second display. If it works. Why is the seconds not working? Seconds, and we can increment the seconds, but why do they not go up during the playing of the timeline now? Let's take this baby into local mode. $39. So it does go up still. You know, we have everything going so static. You know, what is our seconds even plugged up to at this point? For us to be able to send time forward. So that's where we have, I have goofed up. So let's get it back under control. There we go. Pardon that moment of brief insanity, but I needed a second to get a second. So now we can actually sit here and watch. And so in about 8 seconds, we will be ending this video. 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1, and wait a second. Let's give it 1,000 frames. We want to see it flip over. So 10 seconds till the end of this video. I got myself that time. And this may go down as the worst clock video, but in the end, we got the digits up, and I have more than enough to reflect on and learn about post this video. So with that, I'll wrap this video. Thank you for watching.